What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. Time for another one of these things that you guys seem to like so much, these things that are ever so fun. Seattle Seahawks mock drafts. So this is version 7.0 for me. I've done 6 so far. This is number 7. Again, I'm going to try to do one a week until we get to the immediate before draft period, and then maybe we'll up it a little bit. But may as well do one a week since we're in the off season and there's not a lot going on right now. So, I did one last week that I was pretty happy with for the most part. And this one, we're going to go ahead and shift gears a little bit. We're going to look in different places to try to ultimately come to the same basic conclusion, which is we found a way to make the team a lot better for 2025. Again, I get the rough relative values of the players from the mock draft database. So if they're wrong, I'm going to be wrong. I think it's the best resource, though, because it's an aggregate. So at least it's trying to take a bunch of different data in and average it out. And also, I am assuming the Seahawks get a 4th, a 5th, and a 6th round pick in compensatory free agency, which is technically not official yet. So technically, we don't have all these picks yet. It is overwhelmingly likely that we will. All right, my first pick, number 1, 18 overall, is Kenneth Grant out of Michigan, nose tackle, can also do some 3-tech stuff. I said in my last mock when I took Tyler Warren that he was going to become one of my favorite guys. Kenneth Grant is probably going to be the other guy that becomes one of my favorite first-round guys. I do think he fills a need. We do have a need at nose tackle. We don't really have one right now except for Cam Young. I think he fits what McDonald would like in a nose tackle. And you watch that Super Bowl that the Eagles just played. If you can build your defensive line up enough to where you can generate consistent pressure without blitzing, you're going to be in really good shape regardless of anything else. If this team can get to a point where they can send Big Cat, Murphy, and Grant up front and generate pressure in conjunction with their edge rushers, you're going to have something great. The rest of the stuff is almost elementary at that point. So Kenneth Grant is my first round pick. He would immediately play a significant role in this defense. And even without us having a superstar edge rusher, which we currently don't, he would make our front much more fearsome. So that is going to become one of my favorite guys going forward. You will see him a lot in my mock drafts. Round 2, we go with an offensive lineman, Marcus Mbow, or Marcus Mbow. I don't know how he pronounces it exactly, but I do know that he's a very valuable player that should be available somewhere around the middle of the second round. Marcus Mbow of Purdue, the Boilermakers. They did not have a good season, but they did have a good player in Mbow. He should offer tackle and guard versatility. I think that there's a chance he can play right tackle. I think there's a chance he can play left guard. Obviously, on this team, the immediate desire would be left guard, but the flexibility is very welcome. So Marcus Mbow, going to be your second round pick for the Seattle Seahawks, and he might be a day one starter. He might just plug right in at left guard and go. And if we can add a blue chip center and find some stability at right guard, now you're cooking. Now you've really got something going on that front. You can actually win games up front. Round 3, I'm going with a receiver that I really like but haven't taken in any mock yet, Jaden Higgins. Jaden Higgins of Iowa State. Dude is big. The dude has good hands. The dude had a pretty good Senior Bowl. I really like Jaden Higgins. I think he fits a lot of things. He can play outside. He can play the X. He can play the Z. He can play the slot. He can do all kinds of different stuff on a football field. I think in many ways, he's a great successor to Tyler Lockett. Doesn't play like Lockett, but I think he offers that same reliability and solid fundamentals that a Tyler Lockett did. So Jaden Higgins of Iowa State is somebody that I'm very intrigued by. Definitely would be excited to add him. He would become a starter on the outside, and you'd be good at receiver for a little while in all likelihood. So Higgins, one of my favorite receivers in this draft, round 3. Now we go into day 3. Round 4, I'm going with a little bit of a lower end tight end this time. I do feel like we have to get one at some point in the first 3 rounds, to be honest. But if you slip down into round 4 here, Terrence Ferguson. Terrence Ferguson, tight end from Oregon, doesn't have the big playability. He doesn't have the speed of the top tight ends in this draft. But he is big. He's got size. He's a red zone threat. Got good hands. He can block decently. He can play multiple alignments at tight end. He can line up in different places. Maybe he's even like a surrogate fullback. He is like 255 supposedly. If that's the case, he can probably fill that role for the Seahawks on offense. And we now know that is going to be very important for the Seahawks in 2025 with Kubiak. Okay, moving into the later parts of the day 3 area, we got Jamon Dumas Johnson. I talked about this guy a lot a couple years ago when he was at, I think, Georgia. He transferred to Kentucky, and he hasn't really been able to get his draft stock where some people, myself included, thought it might get to. He's been okay, but at this point, he's looking like a day 3 pick, probably somewhere around round 3. So, can't go too wrong here. You can bet on the pedigree that got him a starting job at Georgia for a while and hope that he realizes it. In this scenario, we're obviously bringing back Ernest Jones. So you wouldn't need Dumas to be a starter. You would just need him to be a backup. And he can learn from the linebacker whisperer in Mike McDonald. Nothing wrong with it. So that's a pretty good 5th round pick in my book. Round 6, we're going with a center, Jake Majors. A little under the radar, but he was part of a very good offensive line in Texas. He was a good starter for them. He's got some NFL traits. He's kind of slipped from public attention at this point. It looks like he's going to be about a 6th round pick, but there's reason to believe that he could become a capable backup in this league. So this would be a decent path to go down if you want to just hand the job to Oluwatimi, which I'm not a big fan of, but Majors is good value regardless. And maybe you sign a big-time center, and then you say, hey, Majors, go try to win the job from Oluwatimi. You never know. I'm not enamored with him, and I don't believe this team is necessarily enamored with him. All right, 2 more picks, excuse me. Round 6, we have Joshua Gray, the left guard from Oregon State. Another guy who would slot into left guard. Guess what? We need more than one. We don't have a left guard on the team right now unless we move Haynes. And even if Mbow is your starter, you need a backup. Joshua Gray becomes that backup. So, pretty good season for him. Pretty good career for him at Oregon State. Nice little player. Never really busted out the way some people were hoping. But I think he has backup upside in the NFL. And I think that he can be a grinder at the NFL level. And he actually played left guard in college, which is always going to be a little extra valuable. Round 7, I went with one of my guys from the Washington Husky national title team, transferred to Oregon, Jabbar Muhammad, cornerback. Probably going to be mostly a slot corner at the NFL level, but as of right now, we kind of need that. The only slot corner we have is Witherspoon. So nothing wrong with adding a little bit of depth in that area. And I mean, he's a good slot corner. All right, that's it for my 7th mock draft of the season. Let me know what you guys think. A lot of guys here that I'm really into. I love the first 2 days here, by the way. Grant, Mbow, Higgins, that would get me excited. That would be something that I think this team would benefit tremendously from. And I think you would be looking at a very difficult to deal with team in 2025 if they made these top 100 picks. All right. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. More cornerback videos coming. We're going to get down into the depth of the cornerback free agency market. I know that we're dealing with some pretty esoteric stuff at this point, but stick with me. We need to know these things so we can be ready. We need to do our homework now so we're ready for free agency. See you guys later. Go Hawks.